Well, here in Europe, France and Germany are at odds over a new generation of fighter aircraft, still in development. The French armed forces insist the jet must be able to carry nuclear arms. But for the Germans, that's irrelevant because they don't have any nuclear weapons. A German-dominated aerospace firm has expressed doubts about the future of the multi-billion-euro project.
The Eurofighter, which was jointly developed in Europe, is getting on in years. Its makers launched a successor program in 2017. The new Future Combat Air System, or FCAS, was meant to enter service by 2040. But having developed the technology together, Germany and France are no longer in agreement about what comes next.
As you know, France has different ideas to us with regard to nuclear weapons capability and aircraft carrier capability in terms of the specifications for aircraft construction and fighter aircraft construction. We're trying to resolve this.
For France, the jet must be light enough for an aircraft carrier and able to deliver nuclear weapons, with French jet maker Dassault Aviation insisting on taking the lead. But Germany doesn't have the same needs. It has neither aircraft carriers nor nuclear arms. The German-dominated competitor Airbus Defence seems unwilling to back the project at any price.
If we assume that we end up with 2 fighters in a bigger project that has all these other assets and other means, then that wouldn't be the end of the world. It wouldn't be the end of Franco-German-Spanish collaboration.
The split has emerged just as Europe is trying to reduce its military dependence on the US. But with different requirements and rivalries between companies, it's not clear how the European FCAS defence system will proceed.
And for more on what this means for Europe's defence ambitions, I'm joined now by defence analyst Thomas Wiegold. Thomas, is this project going to collapse?
Well, it seems so, at least when you listen to the German Chancellor. However, you have to keep in mind that FCAS is not only a fighter jet project. FCAS has a few pillars. One is a new fighter jet. The other one is a combat cloud, which means software connecting remote carriers, which is unmanned aircraft and manned aircraft. And all these things built together should constitute the future combat air system. So if there is no common fighter jet, this does not necessarily mean that the whole project is stalled.
Before we get into the nitty-gritty, I want to talk a little more about Chancellor Merz's remarks. How damaging is the sowing of public doubts for a program that depends so heavily on trust between Germany and France?
I think it's pretty damaging, and everybody here was pretty much surprised because when Merz mentioned that France and Germany have different requisites or different ideas about the next generation fighter, that is not new. This has been the situation from the start. Everybody knew 7-8 years ago that France needed a new jet carrying nuclear weapons, a new jet which is carrier capable, while Germany did not or does not need this. So why does he mention it now? And to add this up, he also mentioned there should be consideration whether the next fighter should be a manned version or an unmanned version. It seems this question could have been cleared years ago. So why does he put everything back to square one?
Yeah, that's a big one. But let's focus in on something else, because I fear we both can't answer that question right now. How big a factor is the rivalry between Airbus and Dassault here?
It's pretty important. Sometimes you have the impression it's almost a personal rivalry because the head of Dassault, Trappier, he is claiming or has been claiming for some time that France is capable of going alone, doing this alone. Technically, this is correct, probably. However, the French wanted from the beginning Germany on board because they assume Germany has deeper pockets. So it's about the money as well, and this makes it even more complicated.
So you're saying that going separate ways on the fighter jets wouldn't necessarily mean the end of the entirety of the program, but what would the implications for both countries and maybe also for Spain, because they're also part of this, be?
Well, Spain is a different problem. It's also Airbus is strong in Spain as well, so maybe Spain will stay whatever course this whole thing will take. On the other hand, if France is developing a new fighter and Germany might develop its own new fighter, maybe together with Sweden, which have offered to do so, this might be a way out. However, this means France and Germany need to be willing to go on with FCAS minus a fighter jet. There remains enough to be done, but if it goes this way, we will see in the near future.
The optics of all of this are, of course, terrible. What signal does this openly fought out dispute send at a moment where Europe is really trying to prove to the entire world that it can stand on its own 2 feet in matters of defense?
Well, in fact, it's proving Europe is not really able to stand on its own feet. We've seen that most European NATO nations are buying US-made F-35 fighter aircraft. So France is rather alone with a new own development. And this sends a signal that Europe has still a long way to go before we can talk about strategic autonomy, as the French claim already all the time.
That was defense analyst Thomas Wiegold. Always great to have you on the show. Thanks so much.
Thank you.